You keep circling back to the same lie because it sounds noble. You tell yourself that what you need is more motivation, more pressure, more inspiration, more fire. You keep searching for a voice loud enough to drag you out of inertia. But voices do not transform a man. At best, they expose him. At best, they shake the dust off a truth he already knew and was avoiding. What transforms you is not stimulation. It is the moment you stop asking to be pushed and start becoming the one who pushes himself. There is a reason motivational channels are easy to consume and hard to live by. They give you a pulse without a spine. They can raise your temperature for 10 minutes, maybe 20 if the editing is good and the music knows where to land. Then life comes back in through the side door, carrying bills, boredom, temptation, fatigue, disappointment, and the old habits that know your name better than any speaker ever will. You do not change because you felt something. You change when what you feel is no longer allowed to govern what you do. I keep thinking about a man named Daniel, 34, sales supervisor, married, one son, the kind of person who says, "I'm just in a bad phase," as if phases do not become identities when you repeat them long enough. Daniel had a routine built out of consumption. He watched clips before work, listened to speeches on the commute, saved quotes in folders he never opened twice. He felt productive because he was always being addressed, but his life remained exactly where it was. His house had the same tension. His body had the same softness. His word had the same fragility. He was not empty. He was overfed with permission to imagine and undertrained in the humiliation of execution. That humiliation is where real change begins. Not in the applause, not in the insight. In the moment you do something without feeling aligned, without wanting credit, without hoping the universe notices. Aristotle called virtue a habit, not a mood. And that matters here because habit is where character gets tested in plain clothes. Character is not the dramatic decision in public. It is the repeated private action that nobody sees and that your future depends on. Most men never cross that threshold because they are addicted to the emotional version of transformation. They want the before and after reveal without submitting to the middle, and the middle is where they become accountable to themselves. It is lonely there, quiet, repetitive, unphotogenic. That is exactly why it works. A man is not transformed when he learns a new truth. He is transformed when a truth starts costing him something. When it costs him comfort, he begins to respect it. When it costs him image, he begins to own it. When it costs him the approval of the version of himself that used to win arguments and lose days, then something real is happening. Until then, everything is theory wearing a serious face. You can see this in the way people treat their own promises. They say they will start on Monday. Then they say next month. Then after the trip. Then after the stress settles. But stress never settles for long enough to reward a coward. If your life is waiting for a perfect emotional climate, you have already surrendered leadership to weather. And weather is not loyal. The truth is simpler and harsher. A man transforms when he accepts that his life is built from repetitions, not revelations. The breakthrough is not the point where everything suddenly makes sense. The breakthrough is when he decides that confusion will no longer be his excuse for inaction. Because confusion can be real and still not be sovereign. You can be uncertain and still be disciplined. You can be afraid and still be decisive. You can feel behind and still keep your word. Those are not inspirational slogans, they are the minimum requirements of adulthood. The problem with motivational content is not that it is false. It is that it is incomplete in the way sugar is complete. It gives you something immediate and leaves you hungrier. That hunger can be useful if it drives you inward. It becomes poisonous when it trains you to depend on external intensity to manufacture internal order. And that is what many men do. They outsource their conviction. They rent it from a video, from a podcast, from a post, from a voice with the right cadence. Then they wonder why the conviction evaporates when the sound stops. I have seen this pattern too many times to romanticize it. A man does not need another speech about his potential. He needs to discover what kind of pain he is no longer willing to tolerate. Because transformation is rarely about chasing pleasure. It is about raising the cost of staying the same. As long as the old life remains tolerable, the new life will remain optional. That is why a crisis can be a gift. Not because pain is holy, but because pain strips the decoration off denial. It forces a verdict. It asks, Will you keep negotiating with your own avoidance, or will you finally become someone whose actions do not require constant emotional negotiation? That question is not philosophical. It is practical. It shows up when the alarm rings, when the credit card bill arrives, when the training session feels stupid, when the difficult conversation can no longer be postponed. The answer is visible in what you do next. You do not become a different man by identifying with a stronger image of yourself. You become a different man by obeying a standard that does not move when your mood does. That is why shame alone cannot save you, and encouragement alone cannot save you. Both can be useful, but neither is enough. Shame without structure becomes self-contempt. Encouragement without structure becomes performance. Structure is where the man actually changes. Daniel discovered this the hard way, not in a dramatic collapse, but in the small embarrassment of realizing his son had begun to copy his postponements. Not the words, the rhythm, the delays, the half-finished promises, the way he sat down with good intentions and stood up with excuses. That was the moment the performance stopped being private. He saw the inheritance before it became destiny. I have to admit, this is where the subject gets serious for me, because I have watched people treat their habits like personal quirks until those quirks become the emotional climate of the next generation. There is no speech big enough to compensate for a life that teaches inconsistency by example. So what actually transforms a man? Responsibility, when it stops being abstract and becomes intimate. A standard, when it is no longer borrowed from someone else's mouth. Repetition, when it outlives emotion. Silence, when it reveals that the work was always supposed to happen away from the crowd. And a decision, once made honestly, that he will no longer ask the old self for permission to move forward. Before continuing, everything you are learning here only works if you execute it. And execution is exactly where most people stop. I created a system called Untamed Mind Protocol. 3 tools that work together. An ebook that explains the why, an interactive dashboard that organizes your day, and a reprogramming audio that reaches where knowledge cannot. Link in the description. Now back to the point. If you want the deeper answer, it is this. A man transforms when he becomes tired of his own excuses in a way that cannot be softened by entertainment. Not angry for a day, not inspired for a night. Tired, deeply, honestly. Tired enough to stop defending the habits that keep him small. That exhaustion, when it turns into clarity, is often the beginning of dignity. Because dignity is what remains when self-deception loses its audience. And once that happens, motivation stops being the hero of the story. It becomes what it always was, a spark, not a structure. Useful, but secondary. Temporary, but not sovereign. The real work belongs to identity, to standards, to repeated acts of self-respect that no one claps for and everyone eventually benefits from. You are not transformed by watching better men speak. You are transformed by becoming the man who no longer needs to be convinced every morning. That is the shift. That is the line. That is where the old life ends. Not with noise, but with refusal. The community Untamed Mind exists for men who are done mistaking emotional stimulation for real change and ready to build a life that can stand without applause. So stop asking which video will save you. Ask which decision you keep postponing, because that answer will tell you exactly who you have been and exactly who you still have the chance to become. You were never meant to be moved forever. You were meant to be forged.